what they're talking about.
Hey, Mo.
Hey, Ricky.
It's Wednesday. The doctor is in.
Can I just say it? The doctor is in with my sister.
I know what this is. I love it. And my baby heart. I got my baby heart.
Hi, Paul.
We got all the family here. So you guys, today is, or this week is National Black Family Cancer Awareness Week. So what do? We brought on our families, right?
Right.
Yep.
Because cancer is a family affair.
It really is.
Cancer
You know,
is a family affair. We're all in it.
when I talk to patients and I call them and I say, okay, so who are you bringing with you? I don't say, can you bring somebody or should you bring somebody? I say, who are you going to bring? Who's going to be your eyes and ears? Who's going to be a person who can be reliable to remind you of what we talked about later? Who's your accountability buddy? Who are we going to partner with on this? Because, you know, we grew up in a family where we don't always like to share what's going on, especially about things like this. Like, it's our business, you know, and that's your business and nobody else should know your business, but we have to make this all of our business. So we are so excited to be talking about all the family business. It's going to come out today.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a good thing here. And we're going to show some other people how to do it and how to get free, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, sure are. And we're going to talk to and Sheila has a story too, and I haven't even talked to her about this, but like her daughter doesn't want to talk about cancer. So, but let's talk about that too, because that's part of the deal, right? How do we deal? We all have to find a way to deal with it. So who do we have here? So Mo, you go first. Who's your guest?
Wow. So I have to start with Rev Rita. Rev Rita is my sister, my best friend, my biggest cheerleader fan. I am her first student. And whenever I go to talk to her students, I let them know that, you know, the very first student turned out okay, because she used to teach me how to read. And I hated playing school, but thank you. Because look where I am today, right? Look at me now. And she's all the way in Hawaii. So aloha from Hawaii, where it's just 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm so glad you could join us, but this is Rev Rita. She is an educator. She is a professor in psychology. She is an entrepreneur. She has invented a shower cap that everybody should have that has an adjustable toggle and a satin lining. She's written books. She's a reverend, and she's just all around incredible. So that's my sister, and she's talking about all the stuff that we talk about on the phone, and some of the stuff we probably don't talk about, we probably should. And here we are.
I love it. I love it. So welcome, Rev Rita. Welcome.
Aloha, my kako, which means greetings to all of you. You know, when we think about the term aloha, we know it as a greeting in Hawaiian that means hello and goodbye. But alo means face, and ha means breath. So really it means that I am privileged to be sharing this moment in time with you, to be face to face with you, and to be fully present with you, not to be scrolling through my phone or distracted by something on TV or doing something, but to really be present. And so I'm honored to have this moment in time, to have this very important discussion with all of you illustrious folks, and to, as Mo said, share a little bit about, you know, this particular topic. As a mental health professional, when we do family therapy, secrets, it's a big deal in family therapy, and how to deal with the family secrets that are multi-generational. And so hopefully there'll be an opportunity during this discussion for me to delve into that a little bit more. But I just want to say mahalo nui for having me here today. I'm looking forward to a very robust discussion.
Great. And Val, you know our Val's like, Val's who I call when I'm on the phone and a breastfeed calls. I just got diagnosed with TNBC and I don't know what to do and I can't talk to them. I'm like texting Val, call this woman right now. Right?
Exactly.
She always does. And she always does. She's always there. And then a year later, they'll call me like, you know, Val, I talked to Val today. You talked to Val? She stays with them.
And I do stay with them.
You do.
It's a blessing to be able to be here this evening, and also let's talk about our family health, because you know, we have kept secrets in our lives and our family for so long, and to get it out in the opening is just amazing. And I think it's a blessing because we had a conversation about this over a year ago with the triple negative breast cancer, the pink table talk. And a lot of stuff came out with also my sister who is here. My sister, she's my older sister. Her name is Deborah Summers, and she has been with me through this breast cancer journey. And as I went through this breast cancer journey, we talked about the secrets that was in our family. So we had to ensure that we became vocal in letting people know about breast cancer, and let's stop keeping secrets.
Yeah. Great.
Hi, I'm Deborah Summers. I'm her caregiver. You know, mommy, watch the baby. I'm her big sister, retired.
Yeah, and you took care of her, girl.
Yeah, I
Yes.
did. I did my best.
I know you did. I'm so glad you're here. And our Sheila, Sheila is our clinical trials maven. Thank God for you. You know,
Oh, thank
so
you.
much of the work we're doing is because you inspired us, girl. So
Yes.
Thank you.
yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm Sheila, and I'm a 12-year metastatic breast cancer patient. My mom died of metastatic breast cancer in 2004. And like Ricky was saying, I don't force my daughter or my sisters or anyone in my family to talk about it, and they don't like to talk about it, and I understand, because it not only reminds them of me, but it reminds them of my mom. So you know, and I'm okay with that, I'm okay with that, because sometimes I don't like to talk about it,
Mhm.
but I wish I would have known what type of breast cancer my mom had, and I wish I could, 2020 is hindsight, but I wish I could have had those important conversations. But who knew I would get breast cancer at 43? But it's also important that we know our family history. So now every chemo change, everything that goes on, I tell my daughter, this is this chemo I'm on, and I make sure she knows everything. And I understand. I want her, she's 32. I don't want this burden on her, that I want her to live her life. So, and it works. So.
Mhm. That's awesome. That everybody's got to have a place to do, right? All right. And I saved my best for last. This is my oldest child. I have two, and Amanda Brown Lehrman, and I love her dearly. And she is like the superhero of supermajority. She's been on the case right now, fighting for abortion rights for the last, she had us on Mother's Day in front of the Supreme Court marching with her three girls. And that was baby Hart that's sort of in and out of the picture. She's the youngest of my grandbabies, and they're my purpose. I work for them. That's who I work for. So, and when I was sick, she was the note taker. She was actually working in the Obama White House at the time. She was living in DC. I lived in Atlanta. And so if she couldn't make it to the doctor with me, she'd be on the phone and writing everything down. So by the time we got to the car, she already Googled everything. And so, okay, Ma, here's the drug that you're taking. This is what it's going to do. Here's the side effects. Here's what's going to happen. Then she had all the stuff be like within 10 minutes of the doctor by the time we got into the car. So she was all over it. So, hey, man. And I'm the nanny on Mondays at her house, which is
true. It's true. It's such a pleasure to be here with everyone and spend time. And obviously, I feel like watching my mom sort of handle her own experience and survive her own experience and now do this advocacy work is just so inspiring. And so really just a privilege to be a part of it. And I think one thing that I was sitting here thinking about is just how that sort of like role of note taking and just being that advocate, Dr. Mo, that you were talking about, like you can tell when medical professionals are like, okay, I got to take this family seriously because they have all shown up. And I remember one of the doctors actually giving that advice to my sister and I that was like, make sure that there are always two people in the room with your mom. And some of that was to just like show that she had people that loved her. And so you better like fight for this woman and you better give her the best care because there are people watching you. But then it also was because my mom, granted, was getting the craziest news of her life. And is so deeply emotional in those times that she would hear certain things in those appointments, which wasn't what the rest of us would hear in those appointments. And so a lot of that note taking that I did also felt like I had to do some translation, and, help her like in the 20 minutes after the appointment, after the experience, be able to process what had just happened, which wasn't necessarily like, you're, Ricky, going to die tomorrow, which was what my mom was hearing in those settings. And so being able to do some of that translation on the back end, I think was really important. And then the other thing was just thinking about how family dynamics also drastically change in a lot of these experiences, and just thinking about our own family. And my parents, got divorced in the middle of my mom's battle with cancer as well. And so that shifted a lot of the responsibility for my mom's care onto my sister and I in a way. My sister was in college, I was 25, and just was a really different family dynamic for us as well. And so I know that is another, I would imagine, another experience that a lot of families sort of navigate when you get this, hear the shocking C word as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it saddens me to hear you say, I think what everybody already knows, which is that when you bring someone with you, when you show up with someone who's writing, questions and answers and asking questions on behalf of your loved one, that you get taken more seriously. Like that, my little heart just kind of broke a bit, because it shouldn't be true. But I would dare say if someone did the study, we would find that the doctor may even spend more time in the room, right? Just bringing one other person with you probably would lengthen the office visit. And I wonder by how much. And Ricky, we could look into that to see what happens when you bring someone versus when you don't, because so many women come to see me and they don't want to tell their family. They don't want to be a burden. They have young children. They're worried about that. And, Rita, when we were kids, I was 7 when mommy died. I don't remember a lot of her illness. And then when our grandmother, Margaret, got breast cancer, I remember some of it, but I don't remember everybody sitting down with us and telling us a whole lot of what was going on. Maybe you could share a little bit, I guess, from the perspective of being young and watching this happen.
For sure. And I think, going back to what you just said, though, about the one other person in the room, putting on my psychology professor hat for a moment, you would think the inverse would be true. You would think that if someone shows up by themselves, the doctor would spend more time with that person, thinking this person needs support.
Right.
Why would you show up to get this kind of news alone?
Right.
So intuitively, we should say, this is someone that I have to help uplift. And so I think it's so interesting, the dynamics of that. And I do hope you do that study, because it's very, very, very important. So in terms of the question that you asked about our experience, I was only 10, but I know that if you've taken any kind of Psych 100, Psych 101 course, you know about the parentified child, right? So the child who is delegated in the family to take over when too many things are happening that are dysfunctional. And unfortunately, in our upbringing, there was more than just the ovarian cancer illness that our mother suffered from. And mind you, she was only 28, 29 when this was happening to her. So here now it's so wonderful to be a mom and to have this perspective. I didn't have that perspective at 10. I just didn't know why my mommy was always tired and couldn't play with us and couldn't do stuff. I didn't understand what was happening for a lot of reasons, some cultural, some generational. So we have to think of cohort differences. So I'm going to take you in a time machine back to 1980 something, and think about the relationships between adults and children in the 80s, specifically the dynamics between parents and children in the 80s. So in the 80s, the way that parenting took place is nothing like even how I parented my own children, right? It was, what were some of the rules? Stay in a child's place. Raise your hand if you ever heard that. Stay in a child's place. We heard that. What is a child's place? Okay, that means don't ask no questions. Let me sit down right here and mind my business, right? Stay out of grown folk business. You heard that? Stay out of grown folk business. Okay, right? And so those, how about raise this one? A child should be seen and not heard.
Yes.
Raising,
Right.
heard that? Okay, all right. So now, are those the messages that we're giving to our children now? No,
No,
I didn't raise
no.
my daughter with that message because something in me, even at 10, knew that that's not quite right, but I'm gonna be quiet before I get my behind beat. So I'm not gonna say nothing about this, but I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna remember that this didn't feel too good. And so my mom, now when I think about it, she was in her late 20s. She has these two children who are very like busy and even a little obstreperous, right? We were getting into things and we were always curious about things and asked a lot of questions, especially Dr. Mo. Why is the sky blue? Where are we going? Why are you doing that? How do you add this to that? Just always curious, turning easy bake ovens into chemistry projects, like just doing doing the most, right? She's trying to hold it down as an LPN. She's also in an abusive marriage. So she hooks up with this guy who's 20 years her senior, who is the worst of the worst. Just think Ike Turner times 3, right? And so now she's trying to figure out how to control the violence that's happening in the household while dealing with her health issues, while parenting these children, while not having enough financial resources, and also while being in her role as a daughter in the family, the linchpin, the person holding everybody together. So my grandmother had 8 children, 4 girls, 4 boys. My mom was in the middle. We later learned she was the one holding all the siblings together and making sure that everybody could get along and making sure that they were all getting along with my grandmother. Every time they got together to try to call her a battle axe, she'd be like, no, let's just try to be more understanding. So imagine she's navigating all of these things while dealing with a serious health issue. So at the time, I will tell you, no one sat down with us to say your mom is ill. No one sat down with us to say, hey, maybe, give your mom a little bit of grace. You don't need to go outside right now. It was just understand why she might be irritable sometimes. So, and she was just such a fancy lady. She always had the latest wig, this and that. We never noticed that her hair was falling out. Why? Because she would take her before Beyonce was Beyonce and throw that wig on and be the brick house walking down the street. So I feel like she felt like she had to hold it together and keep that facade for us. And we had to deal with the cultural, generational, children need to be sheltered. They need to be protected. But here's the thing. We weren't sheltered or protected. There's a really good scholarly article that I would encourage you folks to check out. And it was published by, it's actually called The Impact of Secrets in Families. And it's in the Journal of Family Therapy. And I'll give you the citation when you get a chance. And the title begins with, Can I Tell? And they talked about in this article how keeping some secrets can actually be harmful. And the inverse relationship between topic avoidance and family functioning. Let's take a look at that. There's an inverse relationship between topic avoidance and family functioning. So what does that mean? That means the more people avoid topics in families, the what? The lower the family functioning, right? Right?
Can you put that link in the chat for us? Because we're going to put it into the Facebook chat.
Yeah.
And Deb, I want to ask you now about that experience. I mean, had you guys always been open in your family about family history and what's going on with everybody? Because I think one of the themes is that, cancer might force you to open up. Ricky, I want to ask you too, the things you never told Amanda and the stuff that she didn't know that you were sheltering your kids from, right? I'm sure there were plenty of things that all kind of came out in the wash, but cancer has a way of pulling out some of those things, doesn't it?
It does. When my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, I had moved to North Carolina with my husband. He was in the service, and my sister. It probably was about 5 more kids at home. And my mom, I used to call her like, "Why you always sound tired?" "Oh, I'm all right. I'm just a little tired. I've been working." But she didn't say anything until I came home to visit, and she showed me her breast. And back then they did like chop, chop. But the thing was, is that she didn't say anything. I don't know if she told you guys.
No.
So she didn't tell my sisters and my brothers or anyone. My grandmother probably knew, but my grandmother went about business as normal. Didn't tell the kids anything. And as an adult, I would have came home to help my mom, you know, because she had to take care of the other 5 kids.
And it's so funny because as Dr. Rita, Reverend Rita was saying, with my mom, when she was diagnosed, my mother had to be about 36. And my mother had 9 children. So with 9 children, just staying busy and keeping everyone focused. The way I found out my mother had breast cancer, she was in a bathroom one day and I just happened to open the door and she was uncovered. And even at that point, I didn't really know what it was. All I knew is that she didn't have a breast and it looked terrible. And I remember her wearing a red bandana.
But she always wore that red banner.
But I thought the red bandana was because she was losing her hair.
Yeah.
But it was just too many family secrets. And for me today, I don't keep family secrets, especially about health, because we have to be more involved in telling our children and our families, not only our families, we have to go out and tell our brothers, our sisters, nieces, and nephews, friends, everyone about being open with health issues, because we got heart disease. My mother also had high blood pressure. We got, you diabetic. You have so many other diseases that we have to be open about these health issues.
And even with my grandmother, my mom's mom, she probably knew she had breast cancer for years and never said a word. If we wouldn't have brought her back here to New York, we would never have found out my grandmother had breast cancer. She would have been alone in South Carolina. But I thought, once again, not passing this on, because if they would have passed this information on, they would have gave my sister Sheila options. They would have gave her options to know that it's running in our family. So they didn't say anything to us. So the secrets, don't be asking that question. That's none of your business. Stay over there. Go over there and that will mind your business. Even as I was an adult and they still didn't say anything. She didn't share anything with us. And I think that's so unfair. And I try to share stuff with my sons and especially with my granddaughter. I share everything with her about health, about this is what you got to watch out for. This is what runs in the family. I tell my sons, this is what runs in the family. Just because you're a male does not mean you can't get breast cancer. So the secrets have to stop. Sooner or later, they have to stop. It hurts family in the long run.
Sheila, let me have you jump in here too and ask about the burden of you watching your mother, right? And going through cancer with your mother, and now, with your daughter. I guess help people understand some of the burden of it on the daughter and on the family, that keeping it a secret helps to protect from, like the mentality of that, and how you wear it, you carry it, right? It's like a backpack you can't take off. I watched my sister who got paternalized basically, from this experience. Amanda, you too, probably, in that you had to grow up a lot faster and do things you never thought you would do. How do we reconcile that, I guess, Sheila, is my question for you,
I just think it depends on, I know my daughter, and I just think it's the relationship that you have with your kids and know what they can take, because I know women who haven't told their young children, and I can understand because they know their children, but I held off telling my daughter about my breast cancer because she was going through finals. And I said, well, I want her to finish her finals before I tell her. And she was like, oh, she was crying, and I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. And I was like, man, I'm gonna be okay. No. And then she wanted to come home from college. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna let cancer mess up your dream, So she finished college. Actually, she got 2 masters. And I said, no, you just enjoy yourself and let me, But my situation was, my family is in Ohio and I'm in Illinois. So my sisters came when I first was diagnosed, but I literally had to basically, I was here alone with my daughter, and I didn't want to she was in college actually, but I had friends that would take me to chemo and different things like that. But and just knowing, my mom at the same time when I learned about her breast cancer, I was over in Okinawa, Japan, and September 11th happened. So it was like all this stuff happening at the same time. So I couldn't get home because there were no planes flying. So, and then when I got home, I knew my mom was sick because she forgot my birthday on July 26th, and August 17th, she was gone. But I didn't know I didn't know Black women got breast cancer. I was just blind. I thought you did the walks and that was it. Like you solve the world problem, do the walks, and they giving the money where it's supposed to go. But when I found out, that's not true. When I was diagnosed, like I said, 2020 is hindsight. I just told my daughter, hey, we just got to do this thing. And 12 years later, she did move to Illinois, and she doesn't like to talk about it, and that's okay. And I understand. And, but I still tell her exactly, okay, I'm about to switch treatment. This is what it is. She know that I'm HER2 positive, ERPR positive. She knows that I had reconstruction, ovaries removed. She knows everything because I want her to know that, And, I tell her, I said, you have to take care of your breasts, And I don't think that my mom was what goes in the house, stay in the house. I think that she just protected us. And she didn't want us to worry, no. So, and that was our rule as well. But I think when it came to a cancer standpoint, it was just that she was protecting us all, and didn't just, because I was about to get out the military. I was just like, I'm coming home, I'm take care of you. Just like, no, you stay in the military, everything's gonna be all right. And she only survived, 3 years from her diagnosis. So family history is important. And I think that, we need to have those table talk, make the pink table or something, and have those talks, just one day, hey, we're gonna have this talk, we're gonna have it once, and let's get it all out in the open. This is our family history. This is what you need to keep track of, and you need to be on, whether it's prostate cancer, whether it's lung cancer. I've had uncles that died of stomach cancer. You just need to be on it. So I just think my mom just didn't want any of us to worry, because I have 3 sisters. And, when I had to tell my dad, he was just like, oh, devastated. He was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, Dad, it's not your fault. Cancer didn't come from you. It just happened. I don't know. I was in the military. I was in oil fields, So I don't know, and they said it wasn't genetic, but as my doctor said, it could have been a gene that hasn't been tested yet. So we don't know. But I just said that, I just continue to educate my daughter on, and my sisters, and I don't even force them to talk about it, because it's hard. Because first thing you think about is my mom. The first thing, dang, stage 4, I'm gonna die, But I wish my mom had the same treatments, and I wish I would have known about clinical trials. So, I thank all of you here, not only for having this important conversation, because we need to have it, but also saying that it's okay. It's okay to talk about it. And it's okay not to, and also talking about clinical trials, but they're important. Everything about cancer is important because we need to know it, especially when we want to take it not only to our families, but into our communities.
Amen. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, to follow up on that very important message you just said, it sounds to me like another reason why we keep so-called secrets is with the best of intentions, actually. It's to protect our loved ones and not to overburden them with what's going on with us. And so I just urge folks to think about it this way, though. Number one, especially when it comes to children, we tend not to tell them stuff, but they pick up on it anyway. Right. So they know it's something going on. There's some sort of tension in the house. Think about it. If you and your partner aren't getting along, they may not know everything, but they know that there's something just
going
not the
on.
same.
Right.
You can feel energy. When you walk in the room and people are welcoming and accepting, when there's something, wait a minute, there's some tension here. You might not know what it is, but we are very, receptive folks. We can feel energy. And so I would say that what is a secret when someone is 6, here's another point, may not necessarily need to be a secret when I'm 21, right? So we have to think about the developmental level of the folks that we're chatting with and share information according to that level. But I think, one of the things that we deal with is just not knowing what a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old, what a 10-year-old can handle. So we don't tell them anything. And then before you know it, now I'm 21 and I'm just learning, about my mom's ovarian cancer and that the tumor was the size of a grapefruit, or just learning about my grandmother's double mastectomy. And so there might be ways to be informative without letting it all out there.
That's true, because I have a 6-year-old grandson that I was taking care of during my breast cancer diagnosis. And he noticed some changes about myself. I was laying down a little more. I wasn't getting up, fixing him breakfast. Just little things he noticed. But I decided that even at 6 years old, I sat him down and I told him, I said, you know what? He calls me mother. I said, so mother is a little sick right now. I said, but Papa, your mother, and my sister and my brother and my other children was here to take care of me. But I wanted you to know that mother is going to be all right and she's going to get healthy, again. But right now, I just need you to help out where you can help out. If mother need a cup of water, bring me a cup of water. So he understood even at age 6. I didn't give him all the details that I gave my 32-year-old daughter or my 17-year-old granddaughter. It's so funny because I have a 6-year-old grandson. I had to tell my 16-year-old granddaughter a different way. And then I had to tell my 21-year-old grandson in a different way. So each age I took into account, each age for each child before I gave it to them. And it was even funny. I had to tell my sons differently than I had to tell my daughters, because my daughter is she's more gung-ho. She's the one that's going to always help out. But my son would have been so much more emotional. And I didn't want anyone to tell him, because they would have said, oh, I'm going to die. That's how, sons with mothers. But I had to tell them all at their different stages.
Let me ask the breasties, did anybody talk to you about how to tell your children, right? Did anybody have that conversation with you?
No.
Sheila, Ricky,
no.
Val? No.
And you know what? In our situation too, Amanda's dad, Haley was in school, and Amanda's dad basically mandated that I not tell her how sick I was. And Amanda came home from my surgery, but we didn't really tell Haley. I don't know what we told. I don't know what you told Haley, and maybe you remember, but your dad was like adamant that we now not tell Haley that I had triple negative, because if you Google triple negative, it said you're going to die. Everything
exactly.
Exactly. So he demanded that I not tell her that. And so, and I think Amanda was more involved until Haley came home. When Haley came home for Christmas, I had just had my second round of chemo. I was a mess. I had lost 30 pounds, and she's like, what the hell's going on here? And she was really angry with me that I hadn't told her. And I don't know, Amanda, what did you tell her?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I guess, remember how she could have avoided. I guess she just wasn't home for that surgery situation, which man, double mastectomies are like the gnarliest surgeries. Like I was not prepared to deal with those tubes and the drains. And, oh my gosh, I was not ready for that. And yeah, I remember, I think Haley and I do have pretty different experiences in this, because I think it still has some of that anger of just not knowing in the immediate. And I'm sitting here thinking about the secrets, and I don't know if this is just maybe specific to Ricky, but I feel like my mom took it upon herself to, from the second she was diagnosed, it was like everyone needed to know what was going on, and everyone needed to understand. Everyone needed to check their breasts. And I remember even, being in public places with her after the surgery, and her literally taking up her shirt and being like, this is where my tumor was, feel it, feel right here, these are my.
I had everybody feel my tumor before I had to cut out.
It was actually one of the most embarrassing things. I'm like, Mom, can you at least keep your shirt on? What is happening here? But I feel like she, from the very, early early memories of our cancer journey, she had always sort of taken this role of like, I want to help other people understand what's going on, and I want you all to be very aware of what's happening. And I think did sort of started her own like education journey with myself and all of the women and like, you know, her best friends that came in to help us take care of her in that moment, who also had, you know, had no experience with it before or anything like that.
Still doing it. I took your mother to Pride in Mexico, and she lifted up her shirt and showed
Right, I'm sure.
everybody and talked about it. And it was so empowering and so impactful because they all knew somebody that had breast cancer and they never knew the words. They'd never seen.
I'm like, I think my husband saw my mom's boobs before mine, you know, it's like.
Yep. Wow. Well, what if, let me ask you this though, what if your family doesn't know how to show up for you? What if you, because, you know, speaking, I'll put my own cards on the table, you know, having gone through medical school training and all these things, you get a little desensitized and you're not always the most sensitive to what's going on with somebody's health and their journey, how they're feeling. You're thinking medical, at least I am, I'm thinking medically, I'm thinking this, bing, bing, bing. But what if you have family who are saying, you know, that you need to give it over to God and you need to just pray about it, or you need to do this, you need to do that, or they're not showing up at all for you? How do we navigate those situations? Because, you know, it's a tricky thing in families. Not everybody's like, okay, I'll be there and I'll take the notes and I won't be disruptive and I won't challenge the doctor, or I will challenge the doctor at every single turn and I can't get a word in edgewise. How do you navigate that?
I had my husband, my daughter, and my sister was the people that came with me to my doctor visit. But I also, like I said, I had 9 brothers and sisters, but there was 3 other sisters that were so much older than me. When I told them, at first I told my closest family and friends that I had breast cancer. I didn't go around like Ricky throwing up my shirt.
You didn't tell anybody. You didn't want to tell anybody.
I didn't want to tell anybody, but what happened was my sisters didn't want to accept, when I told them that I had breast cancer, 2 of my sisters I didn't speak to for almost a year. And at the very beginning, it really bothered me. I would cry, I would get upset. And then somewhere along the line during my hours of praying, and I had to realize that, you know what, they wasn't at that time well enough to accept what I was going through. So I had to leave them where they was at and focus on the people that was in my life that was there to bless me and help me through my journey. Because if I kept focusing on them, there's no way I would have been able to heal myself. So I had to let that go. And not until after I finished my treatment did me and my sister started talking again. And I had to call them to let them know that I was well. But it really hurt me that my 2 sisters, they're much older than me, who I depended on, because if they needed me in that situation, I would have been there. But because that's who they are, and I just said that God told me they wasn't able to handle it at this time. So just walk away. And I walked away. But what happened during that journey is that God brought people in my life like Ricky, the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation, Living Beyond Breast Cancer, and other organizations and women in my life that knew what I was going through, and they helped me heal during my breast cancer journey.
I just think sometimes for me, I put on a Superwoman cape and I thought, okay, I can do this and I'm strong. And that's the persona that I wanted to portray, because I was calling my friends, they were crying. And then I'm like, I got to be strong for them. And I'm the one supposed to be crying. You know, I have friends hang up. It's like, hang up on me, like, I can't take this, you know. And, you know, and me being, you know, from Ohio, all my family's in Ohio, and I'm in Illinois, you know, I literally had to be Superwoman, because I had to, you know, luckily I had friends here that drove me to chemo, you know, when I first started my journey. But I think that also we as survivors, it almost seems like we're survivors, because we have to survive for everybody else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, at some point I was just like, okay, I got to take this cape off, and I got to let people know I need help, both mentally and physically. And when I did that, it changed the way that I dealt with cancer. Also, it changed the way I dealt with life, because it's like, I can't do all this on my own. I can't carry this burden. Sometimes I just want you, when people say, okay, I'm gonna hold space for you, I'm like, here, take it. Because I can't hold that space today. I can't hold this cancer space today. So I think that as survivors, we don't need to be the superwoman. We need to reach out for help. We need to ask people if we can't cook, because there are many people that go through breast cancer alone. I see it all the time on
Yeah,
Facebook.
me too.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
terrible to be alone. I was so
Yeah.
lucky to have help, and my friends all came and took care of me, and my family, and my sister, my kids, and I don't know, but I also had to go through that relinquishing my power, and I think, because when Haley came and stayed home with me, and we had a role reversal, like, Mom, shut up, Mom, go to bed, Mom, eat the chicken, Mom, and then if I didn't cooperate, she would call her and say, tell Mommy to do whatever, and like, but eventually I'm like, okay, I won't fight anymore. I like, whatever you say, I'll do. Right. I mean, there's a thing I had to give into it, but.
And I think giving into that, Ricky, for me, even like you said earlier, when you send you just send a woman with breast cancer, newly diagnosed, you have them call me, and staying in touch with them and being able to give back to women that are alone, that are by themselves, that are having difficult time. It helps me, even as I'm a 4-year survivor now, but just to be able to give back to others is just so helpful for me.
Yeah.
I got trained to be a doula after my first daughter was born. And one of the, so much about birth is also like surrendering to the experience. And I talked to a lot of my just like doula clients about how there's so much power in you choosing to surrender. And so it's not like happening to you, but you can hold that power and making that choice for yourself. And I think that is something that we certainly had to watch my fight with my mom a little bit, getting her to get there, but she did get there. And I think that was like one of the key things to her making peace with, being able to go through the journey and taking the help that she needed and being cared for and loved on. And I feel like experiencing that is also one of the things that, I don't know, motivates her to make sure that, like other people just have that same sort of support. And she shows up for so many people in that way now,
I think that surrendering, when I was able to let it all go, was I surrendered to God. I gave it all to God.
Yeah, give it all to God.
I gave it all to God, and whatever followed in line with that, then it worked for me. I had to rely on God, because he put the doctors, he put everyone in place that needed to be in place to help me along this journey. So once I let everything go, it was all in God's hand. Because I remember that day when I was first diagnosed with cancer, and I was sitting in my room and I was like, so what do I supposed to do? I didn't even know what to do. And all I heard was God's voice saying, you're going to have to go through what you got to go through, but he's told me, he said, you will live. So once I heard that, that's when I was like, okay, I'm just going to let it go. And I'm saying during the time I had difficult time, but there was one point that I really had to just say, I'm going to let it go. And once I was able to let it go, I surrendered it all to God and let him take control.
One thing that I would love to like put forth into the space also is some of the conversation about holding secrets and how that you are changing that in your family. I think one of the other things that's happening even for me is my own self-awareness about being superwoman and just putting on the cape and sort of establishing my own boundaries. And sometimes I have to like check myself on that, but I have this a lot of moments where I'll get like so stressed out at work, or like so stressed out about just the world, and I'm like, okay, like I know myself, I could go 1,000% in, and I like say to myself, no, like I need to set some boundaries so that I can keep myself healthy for my family and like
Yes.
be there for my family. And I, you know, sometimes I am like looking at my mom and just knowing like, well, she did all these things for us. Like she always did all of the things. And sometimes I
And she
feel
got cancer.
right. No. And I'm just like, I have such this like mental block now in terms of like what stress and how that manifests for me and my body, and like trying to claim some bit of control around that, honestly, and like establish those boundaries, and like being able to say no to things is one of the I don't know, my own lessons, I guess, in having navigated this journey with you, which I say as almost sort of a testament to like that also being something that I think is being passed on to the next generation of like, you can ask for help. That like you build a community around you to be able to lean on people when you need it, and you can say no and all of those things so that you don't have to, you know, be the superwoman and carry all of that stress and carry all of those secrets. And I think that that's something that's also just part of like the generational shift that's happening.
I
But
just
And
was
you
thinking
can
that
ask
as
for help.
we were celebrating Juneteenth this past week, right? Monday, we celebrated Juneteenth, and we was talking about, you know, the emancipation of the slaves and stuff. And I think was a great time for us as African-American men and women to stop with the secrets, because even during that time through history, we kept so many secrets from our families and our friends. And as the generation went from generation to generation, and for me now, that's why I'm really open with my children. And I try to go into my community each and every day. I'm always in my community letting people know about clinical trials, about my breast cancer. I even started a Zoom community breast cancer support group with just people in my community that has breast cancer, because I don't want anyone in my community traveling this journey alone. And I thank God for like putting Ricky in my life, because when I see her, I can call her 2 o'clock in the morning and she'll pick up. I can call her 1 o'clock. Are you asleep? She never sleeps. And just to see her motivation, she motivates me to do better and to help others during this journey.
So much of what you shared, if we think about, you know, takeaways as folks are thinking about how does this relate to me and what can I learn from this?
you're so much like your sister. I love these words.
I'm like her.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
It's so funny whenever we hang out, people think she's the oldest when we hang out. And I think
thought she was the oldest.
she's the fun one. I'm not. I'm the stick in the mud. I have no rhythm, and this one teaches Zumba.
When she's around me, though, okay, next time you go to Pride, you'll see. Take me. You'll see.
Okay.
It's totally different, Dr. Mo. I can pull it out of her. Easy.
Okay. We're going.
So really what we're talking about, though, is the importance of, number one, creating a family, right? Knowing who you can call on for what. That's the second thing. What are the roles that people play in your life? And understanding that everybody isn't good for everything.
Right.
So you might have the friend who's good to go shopping, but you better not tell her a secret because she's going to tell everybody, right? Don't tell her that, right? So know who's good for what,
right,
so that we can rely on them. You know, it really broke my little heart a little bit when you mentioned that your sisters, you know, weren't able to take it and you were out of communication with them for a while. And so we have to understand that people have their own psychological reaction to what's going on with us,
right.
which is weird because I'm presenting with you, I'm going through a trauma.
Right.
The fact that you have to process how you feel about my trauma, and I just want you to
right, exactly.
Right? But you have your own psychology going on. And so we have to understand, especially with the big C, it forces people to confront their own mortality. It forces people to think about, what am I going to do if something happens to you and I can't live life without you? And what does this mean for me and our family? It's a very existential crisis kind of thing. And so for some folks, they deal with trauma in different ways. They, you know, fight, flight, freeze, right? And so for some people, they retreat even and they pull back. until they can wrap their head around it, and then they
Right.
can come forward, which is why it's important, I think, to know who's that friend you can call up just to tell you a stupid joke when you need it. Who's the friend you can call up who's just gonna commiserate with you and go, yep, that shouldn't have happened. Nope. Well, so you gotta know who's what for what. Like, I know that if I'm not feeling well, right? So I'm not gonna call Dr. Mo to be like, oh baby, oh sugar, it's gonna be okay. She's not an oh sugar, oh baby kind of. It's just not her role, and it's okay. She's like, what can I send you? Do you need an immunity
Right.
pill, or do you?
Right.
Last week I had the flu. She was trying to figure out what to send me to help me with my flu, right? That's just not her. So you have to know who's good for what, and I think that's a tool we need in our toolkit, just for coping strategies, right, in life.
Right. Right. So true. So true.
That's so
Everybody has
good.
a purpose. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Because even when I had all the tubes, hanging out, one of my best friends, like my friends came over and they all gave each other jobs, right? So Judy had the job to drain the to do the drains, right? And so Yvonne was going to be the cook, and Judy would just like, I would take my shirt and she would just start crying immediately. And so after like the third time, like, we're not really getting the drains drained. Somebody needs, I think we need another person for this job. And Yvonne's like, get out of here, you go cook. And then it changed roles because she couldn't do that role. She couldn't do that job, right? And she was so happy to go into the kitchen and make spaghetti, right? Right. And somebody else had to do the drains. But you're so right that everybody has a different skill. And also we do lean on our friends for different things, but you never really think about it until you really need them.
Right.
Right. And I remember even with when I was really sick and they told me I was going to die. Okay, Amanda and Haley, if you need money, you call Auntie Di. If you need this, you call Auntie Jan. So I told them like which friend to call for what. I remember like here's the guide, because this one's got the money, this one's got the whatever, this one's got the car, this one's whatever. And they all had a purpose.
It's
It's
so
the
funny
same
that
for our families though, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
what I'm hearing. And I think I love that, because we try to put the same expectations, if any, right, on all family members equally. And maybe it's not a one size fits all approach, right? Sheila, as what you were saying, it's okay for this relative to not want to talk about it. It's okay for this one to want to know. It's okay for this one to show up in the ways that she's able, and this one to show up in the ways that they're able, right? You don't want the relative who can't cook bringing you comfort food all the time. Let's be honest, right? So I think that too, giving us permission to have that choice and to be able to learn how to use our resources. Like, we never ask anybody for anything, I never say no. My head will say no and my mouth will say yes. And we don't know how to lean. And I think that's something that we should be talking about with breast cancer patients, survivors, thrivers, and in our community in general, right? Like, we need to learn how to lean on each other and how to help people show up for us, I guess.
Yeah. I'll tell you a
part
funny
of that
story
is
too.
that
I'm sorry.
delegation thing.
Go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry.
Go ahead,
But
go
I was
ahead, go
gonna
ahead.
say the leaning in. It's that delegation thing. And this should go back to you as the medical professional, right? If I pass out on the floor in a crowded room, automatically that there's that whole bystander effect thing. People are not going to know what to do unless you begin to delegate. You call 911. You do this, you do that. And so being able to, if we're going to ask for help, I think we also have to think about how we want people to help and then be specific about it. And I'm really bad at that. I am super bad at that because I do embrace that strong Black woman identity. I got this. I can do it.
Oh yeah, I got it. I got this.
I was talking to my daughter just yesterday. She's 26. She's going. She just moved to LA, and she was in church on Sunday with her significant other, and they were talking about the idea that women sometimes play a more subservient role, and we were trying to figure out or navigate our understanding of that. And what the conclusion we came to was that it's not subservience. It's just saying, you know what, I can do it, but I'm going to let you go ahead and help me with this. So it's not that you are, allowing your husband to, he's the head of the household and this and that, or whoever your partner is, right? It's not that. It's just more like, can you do it on your own? You sure can. Should you be doing it on your own right now? Probably not. It's okay. Sit in the passenger seat for once. It's all right. And there's a trust that goes into that, but there's also a power in making that decision, as Amanda alluded to earlier, right? There's a power in being able to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let you said you can do this. I'm going to go ahead and let you do it. You said you can make the collard green. Don't mess up my collard greens. Go ahead and make them. So this idea of being able to let someone else in, especially when you can be specific, because as soon as something goes wrong, you know, people say, oh, tell me if there's anything I can do for you. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. That's so vague. And we go, sure.
Right.
Do we ever do it? No, we never do it.
No, we never do.
Because I don't know what to delegate to you. So we have to begin to think about what can be delegated. And I think for those of us who are supporters, that's incumbent upon us to keep that in mind. That when we say, let me know if there's anything I can do for you, we need to be thinking, what could we do for that person that they may not even be thinking about? Can I go over and do a load of laundry for Mo because I know she's been working, 80 hours a week and she probably didn't get around to it. Yeah, then maybe that's how I can help. So think about how you can contribute in a very specific way would be another piece of advice I'd give.
Yeah, I was thinking about what Sheila was saying about we have that superwoman syndrome where we want to do everything and we don't want to release anything to anyone. So when we have that superwoman syndrome, we have to be able to say, if I'm going to delegate it to you, I'm going to delegate it to you. And I'm not going to keep saying, did you do it? Are you doing it? What you doing? Because there's oftentimes
how you do it.
Right,
Yeah.
how you do it, because we get that superwoman and we still, even though we're delegating, we don't want to let everything go.
We're not delegating.
Telling them, direct them how to do it, and we can't do that. If we're going to give it to them and delegate it to them, let them do it at everything.
Yeah, well, I have so much respect for Amanda because her and my son-in-law totally co-parent. They got 3 kids. One's changing diapers, one got the bath, but they really work together as a team, and maybe the diaper's on a little backwards from Kyle or whatever. I've done that too, but she they have this team thing. I never did that. If you didn't do it my way, then move out of my way. I got it, which made me take on everything, right? Because if there's if the diaper wasn't on straight, then I'm gonna take it off and redo it, right? And so I think that's something that gave me stress, as she alluded to. You know what I mean? And so I didn't allow my husband to help me co-parent because I didn't like the way he did it. You know what I mean? So I was gonna make it happen no matter what, at my own expense, right? So
I also like to say that we shouldn't be scared to seek outside sources, because for so long I was like, do I need a therapist? Do I don't need a therapist? And I need a therapist. And I started seeing one, but to say, we gotta, even if you need a social worker, even don't be scared to go and ask your doctor, okay, I'm having problems with this copay. Because what I learned when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, there are so many resources out there that we in the Black community just don't know about. So don't be scared to go outside, even support groups. I was the only Black person in my support group, but I didn't feel, but I do understand that we want to be around people that, look like us, I understand it, because even on TV, I didn't see Black women on TV with breast cancer. When I was diagnosed, I'm like, well, do Black women get breast cancer? Am I the only one? Right. But, we also have to go outside and use our resources. And also too, if you do have to go to the doctor, my mother always said, don't go to the doctor by yourself. But see if you can video or record. We got smartphones.
FaceTime.
Or record the conversations, take back home to your family, and make sure you know which breast cancer type you have, because that drives your treatment. Make sure you know all these things about it and you're able to tell your family. But please, please, please just keep that open communication, because to me, it's a part of my survivorship that I'm able to express not only how I feel, but I can cry and just be like, I can't take this no more. I've had 4 regressions, is this, you're thinking is this the time that, maybe the medicine's not going to work? So it's so many things that, even, I used to not tell my dad when I got progressions, and my sister was like, no, you need to tell him because something could happen. So I said, well, he's gonna cry, he's gonna be all sad. She's like, no, you need to tell him. You need to tell him every single thing. And I started telling him every single thing. He cried, but I felt so much better telling him. So and I was doing it not for him not to know, but I was protecting him. And I was just like, and my son was like, no, you got to tell him, because if something happens, he needs to know. And I was like,
And
okay.
family
But
want
yeah,
to be included
go
too.
ahead.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want the
Right.
chance to show up. If
Right.
my sister's not well, I
Right.
want to know. I want to be able to be there and to,
Right.
you know, when we find out later, or worse, we find out when it's, you know, when
Right.
it's too late and our loved ones have passed on, we kind of take that away, that opportunity to either to unite or to show up or to figure out a different way for our family. You know, like we don't have to do the same things that our generations before us did. We could do it a different way, in a new way, and we could discover what that looks like. And I think that that's something that I think about a lot, because we echo the patterns of our family, right? And
Right.
the generational sort of, I guess we can call it trauma, but just the lessons that we learned and how to navigate the world, passed down, whether spoken or unspoken. But maybe we could try to establish some different pathways. And I hope that that's a takeaway from this too, that when people, you know, finish watching this, just because that's how it was in your family doesn't mean that that's how it has to be moving forward.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we
You know,
have
you
to
guys-
take
Different
generational
time then,
differences.
a lot of times, right? It was different context. So you had to be, you could not show weakness, you could not cry, you could
Yeah.
not this, because you had to kind of keep it moving. And so we have to think about, as I mentioned, there's cohort and generational differences, which is how we're able to have a much different relationships, I think, with our children now than when we were growing up. That's why, I started off my comments contextualizing how things happened to us situated in the 80s, because it's a different time now. It's 2022.
Right.
You can have a different, even using technology for that communication. So yes, if my daughter's 6, there might be certain things that I won't share with her that I would share with her when she got older. And if I'm worried that she may not see me when she gets older, maybe I can record those messages for her. Maybe I can, those could be videos that she could watch later on. And so which we didn't have access to that. Our biggest technology was an Atari with a ball bouncing between the screen.
Right.
Or being able to,
8-track, right.
put on a 45 or an 8-track or something.
Right. Right.
So and when it came out with Walkmans, we were like, what magic is this?
Right. Amanda, do you know what a Walkman is? Okay.
whole different world.
Right, a whole
And so
different world.
No,
we
I know
can
you.
use that now, I think,
Yeah.
to foster the kinds of positive communication. And that's the other word I want to put there too, positive communication.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're sharing what should be shared when it should be shared. I do couples coaching all the time. And, we're talking about how to handle disagreements. And one of the things I tell them is, think about communication. You have to say, do I have to say this right now? Do I have to say this the way I'm about to say this? Right? And do I have to even say this at all? Those are the 3 things. Sometimes you're about to pop off and maybe you shouldn't say it at all. Right? Maybe you just need to stop and then walk away. Maybe you don't need to say this right now. Maybe over dinner right now isn't the best time to be saying this. Maybe it's later on after cooler heads prevail. So I think, thinking about effective, positive communication is
Yeah.
another takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys, we have so many breast seeds. We are all so blessed to have friends and family around us, but we still have a lot of breast seeds who are alone in this fight.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot of times we spend, Val and Sheila and I talking to breast seeds that, don't have a support system. And I don't know how to do that yet. You know what I mean? I still struggle with it and trying to help them, because we're just have such a different perspective on having support, but we have to figure out how to help them.
We
more.
need 24-hour care at Dr. Mo's farm.
I know.
I love it. Bring it on. Let's do it.
Right? We do. Yeah, we need Reverend Marie, you need to move to Dr. Mo's farm so you can counsel the women at Dr. Mo's farm.
I've been there. We've been talking about, maybe some sort of retreat next summer
yeah.
that would be holistic. I'll do the Zumba and the coaching.
Okay, well, we did it. Well, you know, Sheila came to our retreat. We did a pilot. And, you know, we had like a love weekend, right? Breasty love weekend, right? So we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again, but it's a long flight from Hawaii, but we'll bring you here. We need you to come, you know?
I
Yeah.
would love it. You know, I'm a Philly girl through and through. It's so funny because I am local. I am here. Hawaii is in my heart. I don't just, you know, live here. I call myself a resident citizen. This is my new home. But that same aloha that I get here is the spirit that I'm able to bring right back to the city of brotherly and sisterly love when I come back to Philly to represent. So it's all one love. I would love to have that opportunity.
Right. Or maybe we should come to you. Well, let's do both.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Now you're talking. Plus, there's a holistic medical facility right near me that focuses on Indigenous Native Hawaiian kind of approaches to treatment that really might be interesting. So that may be
That's
something to
another
talk
show.
about.
That's another show.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll put
Yeah.
that, get us a contact and we can invite them on the
Yeah, we'll
show.
invite them on the show. Yeah, let's talk about, let's do that. Let's do
Yeah.
that. We will probably have to go visit them, Mo, and maybe do the show from there.
I think so. We'll have to do some research. Yep, I agree.
Right.
Yes.
Right, well, thank you so much, you guys. You know how much I love you.
Wow.
And,
I love you too. Thank
Love you too.
you.
We love you all.
And
Love you all.
next week, we're gonna be live from New Orleans.
Doing it,
Live from
doing
New
it,
Orleans.
turning the town pink,
Turn the
baby.
town pink. We're gonna turn the town pink. We're sponsoring the Mayor's Ball. You know, look at our social watch and you'll see what we're up to down in New Orleans. We're gonna take it over. Bring your tutu. We got the parasols to do the second line dance. I don't know how to do that, but we're gonna learn it and we're gonna be turn it pink. So
Wow.
see you
I'm
there.
ready.
Oh my goodness. It's
Okay.
gonna be
Thank you,
incredible.
Manna.
Thank you.
Yes.
Deborah.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Nice
you,
meeting
Rita.
you all.
Rest
Doctor,
Thank you to our
everybody.
sponsors and the doctors in. There it is. Breasty love.
Rusty love. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Aloha.
Aloha. Bye.